It's a Chinese intelligence tactic to label critics of the Chinese Communist Party as anti-Asian or racist.
The rise in anti-Asian racism.
We go in free trade negotiations with the objective of facilitating the private sector. Right. They're going in with the objective of facilitating the Chinese state meeting its objectives.
We already know that they've sent Ebola virus to China and that they're working with the Chinese military scientists. This is known.
Welcome to Canada, a user's guide and owner's manual. Welcome to this week's edition of Canada, a user's guide and owner's manual. The talk of foreign interference has been significant lately.
Foreign interference in Canada?
We told him to release the names.
Foreign interference.
But is it new?
Richard Fadden is sticking by his comments. The CSIS director says he has no reason to apologize for what he said.
The National taped a speech Fadden delivered at a Toronto dinner.
There are ministers of the Crown.
It was there Fadden first said cabinet ministers in 2 provinces were under the sway of foreign governments. Fadden told MPs he forgot he was being taped.
You've created great consternation and anxiety, unwarranted suspicion, and unfounded stain on every municipal elected official in British Columbia, and indeed every provincial cabinet minister in the country. Do you acknowledge that, sir?
No, sir, I do not. If I had simply said there is foreign interference in Canada, you ladies and gentlemen would all be at your holidays right now.
During my 15 years in elected office, foreign interference was well known to many people. But first we need to ask ourselves, is it really interference? During my time in the Ontario Parliament, it was quite commonplace for foreign countries like China, Taiwan, and Israel to offer up and take elected members on all expense-paid trips, junkets, to their countries, and apparently no strings attached. But there's much more. Let's remember the 2 Chinese scientists at the Winnipeg Biosecurity Lab that sort of has gone into the memory hole.
There's no reason for Ottawa to be secretive about this. We already know that they've sent Ebola virus to China and that they're working with the Chinese military scientists. This is known. What else are they hiding?
And if you're old enough to remember, like I am, the many trade junkets that Prime Ministers Mulroney, Chrétien, and even Harper all took hundreds of prominent Canadian business people to China to explore business opportunities. And while we're talking about business, let's also take a little look into the Canada-China Business Council, made up of the most powerful, most profitable Canadian businesses, and is led and has former Liberal and former Conservative ministers of the Crown running that operation. And this is not the first time CSIS has talked about foreign interference. Back in the early 1990s, the RCMP and CSIS put out a draft report on foreign involvement in our political system and our corporate businesses. It was called Project Sidewinder, but that has gone into the memory hole as well.
The tycoons of Hong Kong started to buy large portions of Vancouver real estate in the late 80s. This coincided with the arrival of triads that are very related to the tycoons and a flow in of heroin. And that the real estate and the drug money can't be separated in my analysis. My research showed once the game Baccarat and higher bet limits were introduced in 1997, that coincided very well with the arrival of the triads from Macau and Hong Kong, and the money laundering that was accepted by the local police and BC government just rose exponentially from that point.
More than $5 billion in dirty money went into the real estate market last year alone.
At a high level, China is making huge money from fentanyl. It's made in the factories. It's coming west. They could stop it if they wanted to, but they're not. So what's the problem here?
Their mindset is entirely different than ours. We go in free trade negotiations with the objective of facilitating the private sector. Right. They're going in with the objective of facilitating the Chinese state meeting its objectives.
It's a Chinese intelligence tactic
to label critics of the Chinese Communist Party as anti-Asian or racist.
One of the things we've seen, unfortunately, over the past years is a rise in anti-Asian racism linked to the pandemic and concerns being arisen around people's loyalties. I want to make everyone understand fully. Han Dong is an outstanding member of our team, and suggestions that he is somehow not loyal to Canada should not be entertained.
Our Prime Minister is echoing a Chinese intelligence argument, whether he knows it or not.
When we take a look at all these different subjects in this week's episode, we might want to ask ourselves, is it foreign interference? Or is it indeed foreign collaboration with our political parties? Stay tuned.